Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squared for boxing news and views from around the internet. Bit of a new feature this one, so I'm going to be on some weeks where I haven't really been able to get to the stories of the week, the ones that matter for the heavyweight division. I'll do a look back. So this is the first in that sort of series. Give me some feedback on the format, if you like it, don't like it. Part of it is I've been quite busy, haven't been able to, because of work and other things, do as many videos as I would like. So when I am busy, I will try to replicate this sort and style of video. So please let me know if you enjoy it. So it probably will be a little bit longer than normal, but I think most people that come to the channel, often that's what they like as well. So first story, Oleksandr Usyk and Daniel Dubois. So we'll get to that first. And then there's Kevin Lerena demanding a rematch. You've got Michael Hunter talking of a potential Martin Bakole fight for 2023. Mahmoud Charr and Lucas Browne. That circus show did not go ahead. And also Mr. 365, he will be back in the ring in January with an opponent now confirmed. And if you're not sure who that is, you will be soon. So in terms of Oleksandr Usyk and Daniel Dubois, so this sort of came out, I don't want to say left field, because the thing is with the WBA, they haven't called a mandatory challenger since Alexander Povetkin in 2018. That was the last time there was a mandatory for the WBA. And there kind of is a little bit of irony with this now being called, that at the same sort of, almost the same sort of point with, there's almost an undisputed fight to be made, Usyk and Tyson Fury, that the WBA pops up again, almost like they don't want it to get made. But I guess it's 4 years since the last one, so how long are they going to sort of string this out without a mandatory, which is the flip side of that question. And given they have announced a reduction plan to get down, eliminate these regular titles, have one champion in divisions, etc., this is what they're saying is why that they've called this mandatory. You can see here on screen their statement from their convention. So effectively, they've given a period to negotiate the fight, and if it doesn't happen, they'll have, by January 30, there will be a purse bid that will occur. So make of that what you will. I know some people will bemoan the fact that this could get in the way of undisputed, but I guess the thing is with Oleksandr Usyk having 3 titles, this is always going to be a factor as well. Remembering, he fought Anthony Joshua twice, so that was basically a year where he didn't fulfill any mandatories. The sanctioning bodies allowed him to have that rematch, so it was always going to happen that there was going to be mandatory calls at some point, and this is not even the first one as well. So bearing in mind that the IBF has already ordered that Usyk face Filip Hrgović, and that was something that Eddie Hearn was pushing, it must have been well over a month ago now. So, and that's all gone quiet, and he was advocating for that to happen, wanted to make it quickly, and as I mentioned, this is all on the doorstep of a potential undisputed fight. But that's also a question mark, because you've had both sides saying, they've been negotiating for weeks and such, and Tyson Fury then saying he might need surgery on an elbow, and now you've got the WBA jumping in. And the other thing to consider with it as well, remembering Frank Warren, who promotes Tyson Fury, also promotes Daniel Dubois. Frank Warren advocates on behalf of his fighter. So I'm sure he has been advocating for Dubois in this sense, and he wants Dubois to get his title shot. And some people might think, well, that's a little bit counterintuitive because this could hold up Undisputed. Maybe Undisputed was never meant to happen next. Wouldn't Frank Warren rather have Daniel Dubois face Oleksandr Usyk, and then if Dubois wins, then it's Dubois versus Fury, complete in-house money? I mean, promoters think like this. If the undisputed fight happens, that's great. I think we'll all love it. But it seems to be that the sanctioning bodies are not going to have too much more leeway, given it has been so long between mandatories. Remember, the IBF mandatory has not been fought for a couple of years. That was Kubrat Pulev in 2020. This one, WBA, 4 years. Whether it impedes undisputed, unclear, but it's interesting timing, and no doubt Frank Warren has been advocating for Daniel Dubois, his fighter. So consider that in the context of all these broader issues here. And I think the question remaining about undisputed, well, I think for years now we've been saying, since it first didn't happen in 2018, well, we almost have to see them in the ring before we believe it's actually going to happen. But someone who was actually calling for a rematch with Daniel Dubois is Kevin Lerena. So he recently fought him, got stopped inside 3 rounds, or at the bell of the end of round 3. And there were a few things in that fight that were a little controversial. There was a short round in round 1 at a time where Daniel Dubois had legitimately been knocked down, seemingly had some sort of leg injury, and he also took 2 voluntary knees, so 3 knockdowns in the first round, which was 2 minutes 50 seconds and change. So that robbed potentially Kevin Lerena of an opportunity of a few extra seconds. And then obviously there were a few murky circumstances at the end of the fight. Lerena being on his feet, the bell rings and he gets caught with something and the referee waves it off. So I did actually do a poll. I'll share that first because I'd asked the question, and see here on screen, following a controversial fight with Daniel Dubois, Kevin Lerena is now demanding a rematch. Given the short rounds, Dubois being dropped and taking 2 knees voluntarily, and Howard Foster jumping in at lightning speed to wave off proceedings when the South African was hurt, does Lerena deserve a rematch? 650 votes, 70% say yes, 9% no, and then there was the third option, which is kind of a halfway house of the yes option, keep dreaming Kevin, and even if you did, it ain't happening. And I maintain that's my position. Dubois is not going to be looking back in the rear view for Lerena. But interestingly, after the fight, and this was something that sort of really surprised me to some extent, and I commented on at the time, Lerena made some comments basically saying that's heavyweight boxing. Well, this is one of the posts here. He says this is heavyweight boxing. Had Daniel down and hurt 3 times in a round, and in round 3 I was on my ass and stopped on my feet. As a fighter, I really thought I could continue on as the bell went at the end of round 3, but it wasn't my night. Well down to Daniel Dubois. So very sort of gracious in defeat. That's heavyweight boxing, as he says. Then a few days later, he posted some clips onto his social media, and as part of one of the statements of those clips, he says, Howard Foster ended the fight at the end of round 3 without giving me time to recover. In fights of this magnitude, 1 minute to recover is a lifetime. It helped Daniel, and I should have been afforded the same opportunity to recover and continue in round 4. So a bit of a different shift from the seemingly accepting it first post, a couple days later, a little bit of, just ramping up the rhetoric, to a full-blown, and this was, within a week of the fight having occurred, he says, I'm calling for a rematch with Triple D. We must run it back. This time last week was electric. There were 4 knockdowns within 3 rounds between the 2 of us. The rematch will sell, the networks will buy it, and we both got the punch to put each other down. Queensbury put on a phenomenal show, and I want to run it back. It's no secret the first bell at 2:49 without a 10-second clap to allow Triple D to recover, and the third round bell went, and I wasn't afforded the same opportunity to recover. The fans want it. I want it. I'm sure Triple D wants it. Frank, let's run it back. The respect and fighting energy between us is top class. Let's go in the new year. So it was almost like some sort of perverse sort of reverse stages of grief. So instead of sort of starting off angry and then ending in acceptance in the end, it was the other way around. So he was accepting initially, and then he's obviously sort of festered on over days, or perhaps initially he didn't want to say too much after the fight because of maybe stuff in contracts or other bits and pieces. Maybe he had been advised, just take it on the chin, we'll get you another opportunity, and then realized maybe the opportunity wouldn't come again. I think at this stage, he's probably basically shouting into the wind that there will be no rematch. And to be honest, I'm not sure that he's going to get another opportunity like this. I think he will, now that he's shown that he is dangerous to a little extent, he was able to discombobulate Dubois, put him down, and Dubois ultimately escaped out of it. I think Lerena, he will be on the outside looking in, maybe for some years, if not for the rest of his career. Moving on, so Michael Hunter has talked about fighting on the January 1st Eubank and Smith card, and someone had asked him, what about a rematch with Martin Bakole? And he said that Bakole declined the fight on January 21st, see here on screen. But further down actually in the chain, someone asked, well, Billy Nelson, is it true? And he said yes, Martin wouldn't be ready by then, but we were also told Michael thought it was too early. But rest assured, it will happen first quarter of the year. And someone said, will it be on the Taylor Catterall card in March? And Billy Nelson said, let's hope so. So that's actually encouraging, because when you consider Michael Hunter's not been up to much, Martin Bakole is certainly a little bit on the outside looking in. He's a dangerous fighter, a dangerous puncher. He's not really up to much. No one's picking up the phone and begging him to come onto their card against their contender. It makes a lot of sense. The first fight was a bit of a sleeper success, because heading into that one, Martin Bakole highly favoured Michael Hunter, upset the apple cart, and that led Hunter on to a contract with Matchroom, and he made the most of it. More recently, he sort of, the momentum's petered out. So too a little bit for Martin Bakole. Great win against Tony Yoka, has done nothing since to capitalise on that. I'd like to see it. If that happens, that is a great fight, and it could propel the winner potentially onto a much bigger and better fight. Michael Hunter is already ranked number 1 in the WBA. He just needs to prove to everyone, I think, to get an even bigger and better fight, potentially some sort of eliminator. I don't know, but he needs a decent fight to prove where he's at too. Remembering there is the cloud of that Jerry Forrest fight hanging over Hunter, where he lost that one and got a gift draw. Lucas Browne has expressed his frustration about Mahmoud Charr and his fight being called off. And as you can see here, this is from a post from Browne's social media. It's reposting something from Boxing Scene. The Middle Eastern Commission shuts down Charr-Browne show, bans promoter from future events in the Middle East. So to say that I'm not surprised would be an understatement, because this was announced at 3 weeks' notice, this fight. It was a bit random. It had a sort of bit of a circus element about it. I wasn't surprised in the least that it didn't happen. It was kind of fitting that it kind of folded at the last moment too, because it just had that vibe about it that was all a little bit Mickey Mouse. And so it proved. The local commission there in the UAE wasn't having none of it. But Browne, he has spoken about it, so what we'll do, we'll play these clips.
Coming straight up to Christmas as well, I had a lot of plans for the kids, and I got birthdays and all that sort of stuff as well, so it really does put a dent in all of it, not let alone my boxing career. I was very much looking forward to Fight Manual. We've spoken very gentlemanly-like over the years. Absolute gentleman of a bloke, champion, and we're really looking forward to sort of having a good fight, along with obviously everyone else who's here as well. Yeah, the way we've been treated, I'm just not happy with it at all. It's very unprofessional, and it shouldn't happen. Dubai is an absolutely beautiful place. I've been treated very well by everyone here. Very diverse, clean, like it's an absolutely gorgeous place. And this sort of puts yeah, it's no good.
Give it to him. Assalamu alaikum. Yeah, I'm here with the fighters. I'm so sad what's happened, what Iconic Promotion does to us. We all flying here over the world. The fighters coming from Australia. We're training. We have a bad training spar. We are always was ready here to fight. But what's happened now? Andre Spencer fucked up. He didn't make the fight happen. He lied to us, to everyone, the promoters, the managers. Now I come here to the hotel. Many fighters kicked out because the hotel not paid. People is on the street. We have a guest from Indonesia, referee, also here. No payment. We have Samir here, also as a fighter, and he is very sad.
So as you can imagine and have seen throughout the day, it is what it is with the fight. I've basically just stayed in bed all day. Either was just on social media or having a nap all day. What's the point at this stage? So I'm in Dubai for another couple of days. Might as well treat it as a holiday, get a bit of a tan, work out. I've thought, fuck it, let's go to Macca's, because I want to try Macca's in every single country I ever go to. And as usual, Macca's is beautiful. Emmanuel Charr has been very good about it all. It's not his fault. It's not DeBella's fault. It's not my manager's fault. It's not anyone's fault, but the promoter here that was putting it on. He's ghosting us, as you can imagine, so that's it. So I've got my flights home soon. I'll go home, celebrate Christmas, everything else, and look forward to maybe a January reschedule. Going to try and get Mahmoud Charr to Australia for January and have Flemo and Lodgy and all the boys on Quinlan all on the card as well, as if it was over here but back in Australia. So we'll see how that goes. So at the moment, it's goodbye for me. Just me doing my thing now.
So I guess for Browne, I sort of feel for him in some regards. He's in the final sort of stanza of his career, deep into the sort of sunset of it. Actually, it's more like 1 minute to midnight, 43 years old at the time that I record this video. There's not too many fights left, and this seemingly was going to be a fight that was going to pay him decent money. Even though he'd sort of called in at short notice, obviously it was worth his while. And he's had a few fights in the last couple of years fall over, notably Otto Wallin was one. There was also a couple of others within that Dimitri Salita stable. That was more in the pandemic where things are a bit more uncertain, things getting cancelled for all sorts of pandemic reasons. But obviously the Daniel Dubois fight was there, and the British Boxing Board of Control said, no, we're not going to sanction that. We're not going to allow you to have him as an opponent. So this kind of felt well matched, and because it was random, a little bit of a circus element, this fight with Charr, it was kind of interesting as well. Although I have to say, the cost of the pay-per-view, which was going to be $49.99 US, was outrageously high. As someone commented to me in a private message, it was probably going to do about 100 buys worldwide. And my response to them was I was going to be one of those maniacs getting it. My bank balance is grateful that it's not happening, but I was legitimately interested in seeing it. And we'll round up this video with just a little bit of a comment on Mr. 365. Agit Cabayel, who's fought once a year, every year for the past 5 years. He's become the new Gary Russell of boxing. He's taken over that mantle. Agit Kabayel is confirmed for January the 28th in Germany, facing Argon Smakici. That siren in the background, that's not for me. That's coming for Agit Kabayel's career, because he is on life support at this point. Just wasted any momentum that he had from beating Derek Chisora in 2017, all those years ago. Never really capitalized on it. In fact, the opposition, in my view, has gotten worse the longer that he's had this one fight a year stretch. But Argon Smakici is a decent tick over as long as he's going to build towards something. But the problem is, he seems to be waiting around, hoping that someone like a Tyson Fury is going to swoop in and try to sort of sell him as a legitimate contender with an undefeated record. And for those who followed the channels for years, know that at one point in time, I was quite high on Agit Kabayel. I thought that he was a decent technician, that he had legitimate top 10, top 15 talent, and I had him for a period at the back end of my top 15. But the inactivity, he's just wasted his career. Obviously, he's doing well in other areas in life with sponsorships and other bits and pieces that he doesn't have to, for financial purposes, get in the ring and regularly, because he can't be making big money off some of these fights that he's had in recent years. I mean, Pavel Sauer this year, come on. I mean, and that was fighting in front of 2 people and about 60 empty garden chairs at the start of some random German show where he was foisted onto it last minute. It was bizarre. But Argon Smakici, he knocked out Lenroy Thomas this year, so he's coming into it with a little bit of form. I mean, who knows where Kabayel's really at? Who knows what his drive is and ambition is? Because certainly it doesn't seem to be really dedicated to trying to build his career. I mean, if he truly thought he was deserving of a title shot, surely he would, and his promoters would be doing every single thing possible to try to get him closer to one. And some of that has to be through activity, beating named guys, not just hanging on to the O and facing guys in tick over fights to maintain rankings, because that's what he's doing. Embarrassing. But I'm glad to see him back in the ring, and it's not just a Pavel Sauer type. Argon Smakici's got something about him, but Kabayel should win. What do you make of it all? Drop a comment loud and often, hit like, hit subscribe, follow me on Twitter. Boxing_squared. I'm out.